These are two of my absolute favorite colors. When the water's clear, you know, that translucent with the blue back, a little bit of orange on the belly, that's my number one. When it's got some color to it, I really, really love that bud color. It's got just a pale yellow belly, a little bit of translucent sides, but I really like that yellow nose. And its name's Bud. It's my dad's name. So it's got to be a good color if it's named Bud. We were just joking saying that the Pick 4 has multiplied. We have more than 4 here, but we're keeping it in the 4 bait options. I just wanted to make sure that we, you know, cover some color options. So here we are, we're back, Pick 4, month of March. And as a bass fisherman, this is probably my single favorite month of the year. For a lot of reasons. I've always liked the month of March. It's pre-spawn, pretty much most of the country. There's some places where bass obviously are already spawning, and places where, you know, some are completely done maybe, or nearly done at this point. And then some of you folks up north, you're still snowed in watching this with ice on your lake. So kind of varies, but across the southeast for the most part, the month of March to me means pre-spawn bass fishing, and that is my favorite time of the year. For one, it's when I feel like I'm most comfortable. I feel like I have a good understanding of what bass typically do this time of the year. They're generally cover oriented. You know where they're going to be in, like, you know, 2, 3, 4 weeks from now. You know where they're going to be when they're actually spawning. And they've moved out of their winter time. You know, they're in that feeding mode for the most part. So I enjoy fishing in the month of March, and it's been good to me over the years. As far as you look at tournament success-wise, month of March has always been a very good month for me. A lot of my biggest wins and most of my wins in general have come during the month of March. So I enjoy fishing this time of the year. And everything I've got on this Pick 4 this time of the year reflects the way I like to fish. I like to fish moving baits. I like to fish reaction baits. To go out there and drag stuff around isn't what I enjoy doing. And if I'm going to pick 4 baits, none of them are going to be that for this month of March. So I'm going to start kind of in the middle of what we've got here, which would be my coldest water or clear water type selection. And that would be a jerkbait. A jerkbait and pre-spawn definitely just go hand in hand. No question about that. This is the Rapala Shadow Rap Shad. That's my favorite jerkbait from Rapala. Just a really good bait fish profile. Not too big of a bait. There's definitely times when I like a larger jerkbait, but this has got a good enough profile that it definitely makes you know, those fish can feel this thing move in the water. They can see it very well, and this is an excellent jerkbait to be throwing this time of the year. Cast pretty good. I throw it on bait casting gear. Throw it on 12-pound XPS fluorocarbon line. But this is a dynamite jerkbait in my opinion. On the belly of it, it calls it a slow rise, but that's with the factory hooks. I always change them out. I upgrade them to VMC hybrid trebles. I've got the number 4 regular shank on this Pro Blue style color. That's what I go with. I've actually got a set of short shanks on this Bud color, but those regular shank number 4 VMC hybrid trebles, that's my go-to with this bait. And these are two of my absolute favorite colors. When the water's clear, you know, that translucent with the blue back, a little bit of orange on the belly, that's my number one. I mean, I don't really even have to think about it, don't have to consider it much, but that is my go-to, you know, when that water's pretty clean. When it's got some color to it, I really, really love that Bud color. It's got just a pale yellow belly, a little bit of translucent sides, some reflective there on the kind of that top half, and then just like a pearl white back. But I really like that yellow nose that it's got on it, and its name's Bud. It's my dad's name, so it's got to be a good color if it's named Bud. So it wasn't named after him. I don't really know why it was named that, but definitely an excellent color in that jerkbait. But yeah, suspending jerkbait is a big deal. Water in the 40s, water in the 50s. There's a lot of fish that you'll catch on a suspending jerkbait that you won't get to bite anything else. Next up is definitely going to be the bait that has my single biggest win ever to date. Maybe that'll change later this month with Red Crest coming up, but Yeah, winning the Classic here at home in Knoxville on Fort Loudon Lake, or the Tennessee River as they called it for that event. A big player in that one for me was an Arashi Vibe. That's the Lipless crankbait. And this color here is called Classic Crawl, based on the Arashi Vibe that I was coloring with Sharpies for that event. And this is a very good representation of it. And then we added this color to the OG line of baits as well this year. But it's got that orange belly, a little bit of gold kind of on the sides of it, then just a good deep red. It's got those black crawfish lines and then a black back. Just a very good red, you know, that red, orange, gold that's so popular and works so well early in the year, like this time of the year in March. But the good thing with a lipless crankbait is you're able to fish that bait in a lot of different depths, and you can really control just how deep you fish this bait, largely with the size of the line that you use on it. If you tie this on to 12-pound test, you can fish it out there in 6 or 7 feet of water pretty easy. In the Classic, I was fishing on 17-pound XPS fluorocarbon because I was fishing really, really shallow. Anything from 1.5, 1.8 foot out to maybe 3.5 feet was as deep as I was fishing this bait, with a boat sitting typically in 5 foot or less. But using that heavier line, I'm able to keep that bait up in the water column. It's not digging in the bottom all the time, and I could really fish that bait and allow it to kind of shimmy on the fall, even in that shallow water, due to that heavier line like that. So a big key with fishing any lipless crankbait is matching the size line to the depth you're trying to fish. But showing you two, you know, bright red, or two red colors, one very bright, that fluorescent red crawl, as well as the Classic Crawl color there. If the water's extremely muddy, really cloudy conditions, that's when I'm going to go with that really bright one. If it's just off-colored water, you know, bright skies or something like that, that's when that Classic Crawl really seems to shine for me. So another thing that I do on that is change out those treble hooks. On anything I use that's got treble hooks on it, it's going to have VMC short, most likely short shank, but VMC hybrid hooks as the treble hooks that I'm always going to use on those baits. I absolutely love that hook. The next one, no surprise here. Again, you know, something that I used there in the Classic, but everybody throws in the month of March because, well, guess what? It just works. And that's a bladed jig. I've got a 3/8 and a ½ ounce here. Some days I'll use both in the same day. Other days, you know, it seems to be more of the shad color. Some days it's more of those darker colors. A little bit goes with the watercolor, but I mean, I've caught them on chartreuse and white when the water's super muddy. I've caught them on green pumpkin or black and blue when the water's pretty clear. So it just seems to be that you got to really, you know, apply that to wherever you're fishing and what those fish seem to be feeding on. But these both have a Bass Pro Super Shad trailer on them. That is one place where I will vary a little bit more this time of the year. If I'm fishing in March and that water temperature is still, you know, pretty low, and I need to slow that bait down, I'm gonna do a couple different things with that trailer. I'm either gonna put a Bass Pro Speed Shad on the back of it, you know, a boot tail style trailer, probably the 3.8 inch, or I'm gonna use some type of a crawl style trailer, especially on those darker colors. If it's a light colored one, I'm gonna go with that swim bait. That's gonna be my trailer. But on these darker ones, I'll use, you know, some type of crawl that's got a lot of resistance to it, whether that's a bull hog, whether that's you know, just something with a lot of crawl, whatever crawl style trailer you like that has a lot of resistance. The bigger the flappers, just keep that in mind. It's going to lift that bait more. It's going to create more resistance. You're going to be able to fish it shallower, slower, if that's what you need to be doing, you know, for how those fish are set up at that point in time. So just another tip with your bladed jig. Last but not least, you know, month of March can be a great time of the year to throw a standard crankbait as well. Again, this is the third hard bait that I've mentioned in this lineup, you know, for this month. That's why I love this month so much, is because that's mostly what I throw is a lot of hard baits. But definitely that OG Slim. You know, the water's warmed up some, hopefully wherever you are from February, where you really wanted that smaller profile bait. You'll notice with each one of these, a little bit larger profiles than what I was generally going with in the month of February. Same deal on my crankbait, that OG Slim, definitely a little bit larger profile than Tiny is. This is the chartreuse, or the hot copper green shad, chartreuse copper green shad. Very good off-color water bait. Again, I'll throw this in that classic crawl. I'll throw it in the original crawdad shad colors, just depending on what those fish are really keyed in on, and the conditions for the body of water that you're out there fishing. But this bait, runs about 6 feet deep, so you can cover most everywhere where those bass are going to be with that bait this time of the year. But yeah, for this pick 4, man, the month of March is absolutely my single favorite month of the year to go bass fishing. I love pre-spawn. I love that fall when those fish migrating into those spawning areas, and it probably is the best month of the year where I live, as far as the whole year goes. As far as catching big fish, as far as catching numbers, March is my favorite time of the year. So be sure you get out there. You'll get to enjoy some fantastic fishing.